Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if it's sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 124. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benezowitz. Last week was a doozy. We got the news about Kevin Durant wanting out. Nothing has happened. Surprise, surprise. And the New York Knicks still have not traded Julius Randle. He is on the roster as both the Nets and Knicks. Wait and see if there's some more moves to make. The Nets do make some moves. The Knicks have kind of stood pat. But we'll talk about all of that. Alex, nice to see you, and it's nice to see you not after some horrific Nets news. Hello.
Why? It's more fun to see me after horrific Nets news. I think it's more fun.
Nah,
me,
fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, before we get into all that, if you guys really want to support the podcast, thank you for everybody listening. Just make sure you download the episodes. That's the best way to help us out. And as well as 5 stars and comments on Apple. But if you just download the episodes on any app you use, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, whatever it is, that's the best way to help us out, or subscribe to us on YouTube and everywhere. But downloading episodes helps us out a lot. So now they've got that out of the way. Yeah, no Durant trade yet. Knicks haven't traded Julius Randle yet. You can't say I haven't tried. If you follow me on Twitter, you see at Knicks Central, you see all the tweets. I'm trying, trying to keep the topic out there, because I feel like they're trying to brush it under the rug and just be like, we don't really need to. Just don't say anything. People forget. People are stupid. No, here's this one when he was lazy on defense. Here's this terrible shot. Here's this play where he missed RJ Barrett wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Here's this play. I'm putting it out there, and I'm not letting them forget. And if they're going to bring Randle back next year, they're going to hear it from fans, because we don't want him, and you kind of you have no choice as a fan to just be like, all right, well, he's on the team, you got to root for him, and sure, I'll root for him too, but at the same time, I'm not going to be okay with that until it's opening day if he's on the roster. I'm not going to let that go until it's opening day he's on the roster. So I don't know, what do you think? Do you think the fans keeping the pressure on helps out with the management?
Yeah, Alex, I'm
not
so
saying
glad
that I have the power, though. I'm
yes,
not
you
saying
do.
That me personally has the power.
You're going to get Julius Randle traded. All right. A couple of things to digest.
I brought the Friday Night Knicks song back, though. I did. I brought that back.
Never heard of it. I'm so excited to talk about this. And yes, we will talk Durant, but I needed a break for a mega minute because I want to rip the Knicks a little bit. And I want to, not even the Knicks. I want to get on the fans. Knicks fans annoyed me this past week. This idea from the Knicks fan that they're not trading Julius Randle because management thinks it's best for Julius Randle to be on the Knicks is so silly. First off, you want to get mad at Knicks management, get mad at Knicks management where they re-signed him for 5 years, $702 million. Okay, that ends up being a bad decision. But the idea that trading Julius Randle is just so easy, right? I forget who I was tweeting with, but it was a Knicks fan. He's been on this podcast because he won the FanDom League. No, it wasn't Coonies. It was I'm so bad. What's that?
Bootylicious?
I'll get it in a second after my great point.
Not many.
But my what I'm trying to say is this idea that Julius Randle is so tradable and is easy to get to another team is a laughable statement, because for all the Knicks fans that are promoting how bad he was, how difficult he was, how he stunted the growth of Obi Toppin, how he prevented the Knicks from being such a great team, say all this with the idea then just trade him. Well, if you're going to tell me all these difficult negative attributes to Julius Randle, explain to me why the team on the other side would be so damn interested in having him back. Yeah, I understand a change of scenery would be good. I'm sure he would be improved. I'm sure that would help. I do believe that. I do think that would happen. But if you're telling me you want to take on Julius Randle and his $100 million because you think it's good for your team, you're out of your mind. The teams that would want him would be contenders that need one more piece to have him to be a better over-the-top team. Like, for example, we talked about it before, and now would be unnecessary, but like a Warriors team or a Phoenix Suns team, a team that needs one more guy to help them get over the hump. But if you are a rebuilding team, why in your right mind would you want to take the Knicks problem, bring them on your own roster, and then give up assets? Why is this something that team would want to do? Explain that to me. Oh, there's a sucker out there that will go for it. Oh, there's somebody out there that will like it. If the Knicks fan, who has told me repeatedly, is the smartest fan in the league, is the most passionate fan in the league, knows basketball better than anybody in the league, is telling me that Julius Randle can't play, why would another team want him?
Well, if Russell Westbrook has been traded twice over the last 3 years and maybe a third time, you could trade Julius Randle. You can find somebody. And I know he has, I was just looking up his contract. He has 23.7 this year, 25.6 in 23-24, 27.5 in 24-25, and then a player option on top of it for 25-26. So he's at 4 years left on his contract, which is insane. And I hear you, but I think the change of scenery thing can work. But also, if you can trade Kemba Walker and get a first-round pick in 2025, if you can trade Noel and Burks and get absolutely nothing back, you can do it. So I think that there's a way that they can maneuver away. If they really were motivated, they can trade him. That's what it's down to. Do they really want to trade him? And I don't think they do. But also, this Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving situation in Brooklyn is now holding up the NBA. And I really do believe that that's the case. Rudy Gobert doesn't have any effect on the Durant stuff. And he, teams that are looking for a Rudy Gobert are not looking for Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. You know what I mean? Especially the Timberwolves. They got Anthony Edwards. They got some young players, and D'Angelo Russell, your boy. Not that they don't need is the wrong way to say it. They already have money tied up in these young players and high draft picks tied up in these young players. They're not going to go for that. They're going to go for somebody to add to that. You know what I mean? That's why the Nets, if that trade proposal was real by Chris Haynes, I don't think he would lie. I just saw it on one of those, aggregating source sites, Hoop Central or some shit like that, right. Saying, what was it? It was Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and 4 first-round picks for Kevin Durant. And the Timberwolves laughed at them. Like, are you
right? Of course, as they should.
But I don't blame the Nets. Shoot your shot. It's still funny for me to laugh about the proposal, but I don't blame the Nets for trying, but if that's true. So the greater point is, once a domino falls, or once teams realize that the Nets are just out of control with their asking price, then teams will pivot to other players like a Julius Randle, I would think, if the Knicks are motivated to trade him. That's the big question. Are they? And that's why I want to put pressure on them. That's why I want to keep him in the conversation and make fans remember how much we hated this guy this year, because at the end of the day, the Knicks are trying to bring him back. Leon Rose and Julius Randle were at this meeting. It was on the Woj pod. We talked about it 2 years ago. They were at this meeting uptown in New York City. And this is a Woj pod episode where Julius Randle's there. You can download it and listen. And they sat at a table. Leon Rose, Julius Randle, Elfrid Payton, Worldwide West, a couple other guys. Steve Stout maybe was there. And they said, what do we need to do? And they sold the plan to Dolan, and Dolan bought it and brought in Leon Rose, and now we're here. So Julius Randle is part of the family. But we also saw how if Elfrid Payton was that bad that, he got kicked out of the family, he got kicked out of the circle of trust. So it could happen. But the fact that Julius Randle is like the key component of all of this, it's going to be very difficult for them to trade him.
I hear you on the Russell Westbrook point. The thing about Westbrook, though, is he had a terrible season with the Lakers. But before this year, he was a guy that had debates on, are his triple doubles just stat gathering, or is he that good? At least there was that conversation. I don't think anybody would be crazy enough to compare Julius Randle to prime Russell Westbrook. That's a very different. So, yeah, I hear you that somebody did, but I think it's a little different of a case scenario. I think, to me, if the Knicks are motivated, they're going to have to attach draft picks on top of it. Nobody's just going to want him. I hope there's an understanding there. To get rid of Kemba Walker, a draft pick had to be attached, right? So for Julius Randle, it's those years and that money is asinine now. It looked like a friendly deal before last season, but now after what we saw and witnessed, this concept of just trade Julius Randle. It's not as simple as you think. You need to find a partner to get this done. I hear you on the connections that the Knicks have with Julius Randle and how they're in bed with Julius Randle and how they like Julius Randle, how now they're going to stick with Julius Randle. So I bet you there's a hint of truth where the Knicks aren't motivated, but I think it's kind of motivated because they know that it's going to lead to nowhere. And it's just trying to find yourself to get off the couch and go for a run and run a marathon. But you're like, I haven't run 2 miles in 15 years. I just don't want to do it. I can't in my right mind see a GM taking on that deal for a team that if you're rebuilding, why would you want that attitude in your locker room? And if you're a team that's going over the top, I'll give you that. And you made a great point there, Alex.
Thank you.
The Durant thing could be holding that up, and I could see that as an option to why it is being held up. But if you're a team that's in rebuild mode, you're going to want picks back. You're not going to want Julius Randle on your roster. So what? You can be bad and have all that salary cap attached to you? Like, teams that suck are going to want to make sure they have cap and they have young players. They're not going to want to have Julius Randle under
unless you're the Pistons
books.
and you love ex-Knicks. Maybe the Pistons.
Maybe the Pistons do a deal. Yeah, that's fair.
But
the Pistons.
But how about Dallas? I mean, this Jalen Brunson deal is not done yet. They're obviously negotiating. Everybody's saying that it's not done yet. And if the Hartenstein deal is done, there's the Kemba Walker deal is done. All of that is behind us. But the Jalen Brunson has not been officially announced yet. They haven't had a press conference for him yet because it's not official yet. So they're still talking, and it could be happening right now as we're recording this podcast, or an hour later, something's going to happen, of course. But there could be something there, and Julius Randle going to Dallas makes a little sense. I know it some cap nerd is going to tell me, well, you can't because of this and for that, but like, just stay with me, or hypothetically, if they want it to work, they probably can find a way. Julius Randle coming home to Dallas. Luka Doncic is standing there, and he's like, you traded Porzingis. Okay, you got Dinwiddie. Okay, but now, we get to the Western Conference Finals. This is great. Jalen Brunson's my boy. This is my sidekick. Yeah, and now you're losing to the Knicks for nothing? What do we get, a tampering charge? Who gives a fuck? We got a second-round pick in 2026? Big deal, man. Now, what about my career? What about this year? If you could sell that to Luka and the Dallas fans, like, this is our boy. He's coming home. He'll be better at home, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Dallas might be the spot that, or at least you can dump Fournier in that kind of deal. Those either one could be a good spot. And then, it's just, I think Dallas might be the place, or another team we're not thinking of, where Utah Jazz, want to trade Donovan Mitchell, and you got to match up salary, and you sell to the Jazz fan base, like, hey, we got this all-star and all of these picks from Gobert and Mitchell's trade. Maybe we can do something. I don't know. Man,
you got me on the Mavs one. I could see that as an overreaction from Dallas, knowing that they just lost, arguably their second best player,
right,
or in that conversation, and Brunson, and now Luka's looking for somebody else, and he's like, okay, let's bring in Julius Randle. He is what he is. He could be a compliment. I could see that. I don't see Utah, because I don't see Danny Ainge, who's been all about draft pick acquisitions and getting got a haul for Rudy Gobert, to then bring in somebody like Julius Randle. I think could stunt what his ultimate mastermind plan is down there, or to the west of us in Utah. But I could understand that Dallas one. You say that one, that does make sense to me a little bit, and understanding, because I think teams make an overreaction after losing somebody. And then for the Knicks, it's actually, it's a natural trade partner if they're going to get Brunson back, and it works out from all that standpoint. I could see that. I could see the Dallas thing working. I don't know. Luka would have to sign off on that, obviously, because he would need that reassurance. I don't know any of that connection there, but you got me on the Dallas one. Yeah, that was good.
Well, they got a lot of ex-Knicks. Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke are still there. I don't know if Trey Burke's still there, but after this year, but Tim Hardaway Jr. is still there. He's paid. You got Dinwiddie. He's paid. I know he's not an ex-Knick, but still, he's got they got a lot of average players that are paid in Dallas. And I don't understand how Dallas, our boys at the New York Knicks podcast tweeted me today, where I tweeted out, the NBA salary cap makes no sense for no reason. Like, it's so complicated for absolutely no reason, like kind of something like that. And they said, let me pull it up. It's just easier to say, but it's just funny, because it feels like the Knicks are always over the cap, but everybody else can spend $700 million. I said the NBA salary cap is so damn confusing for literally no reason at all. And New York Knicks podcast at New York Knicks podcast said, Knicks are always capped out at 110 million, while other teams are spent 300 million. And that's just exactly what it feels like. You know what I mean? How do all these teams have so much so many players, and the Knicks can't. I know it's probably some kind of cap nerd that's going to tell me it's because of this and the trade exception of the this and that. And it's like, okay, but it's ridiculous. Make the deal.
You love doing cap nerd voice.
I hate
that is your thing. You've done 2 cap nerds in like 5 minutes. I mean,
it's
and
funny.
You went into the voice both times.
I know. But you know what's funny? It's like I have nothing against the people who are cap nerds and love it, and people eat that stuff up. For me personally, I tried to read an Ian Begley post, the article today on SNY.TV about the options of the sign and trade for Brunson. I read the whole thing, and I have no idea what I read. Because I was bored out of my mind, where my mind started wandering, and like halfway through, I'm like, why am I even reading this? And I sent it to my friends who are like who are diehard Knicks fans, my buddies Randall and Matt, and they were like, dude, what the fuck is? They sent the meme of, I'm not reading all that, but sorry that happened, or thanks for something like that stupid meme, but whatever. So it is what it is. Just let me know if they can do it. Let me know. That's all I need to know.
I've got a question for you, and I've got a question for the great Knicks fans that listen to Bad Weather Fans here. Yes. I love you guys. Which Maverick would be more despised? Which one?
Dinwiddie.
Oh, that's not what I was going to ask.
Oh, okay.
The Porzingis Mav or the Julius Randle Mav?
Oh, Porzingis, 100%. It would be hilarious after all of this, after 2019 and all the shit that Knicks fans got. It would be hilarious if we went into next season with Durant and Kyrie were on different teams and demanded trades, and the Dallas Mavericks ended up with Julius Randle and Tim
Spencer Dinwiddie and
Spencer Dinwiddie and Tim Hardaway Jr. And the Knicks got Jalen Brunson and, ended up with Donovan Mitchell. That would be the funniest thing ever. Or even if the Knicks don't end up with Donovan Mitchell. If the Mavericks get Julius Randle and the Nets lose Durant and Kyrie, it'll be the funniest thing ever.
Well, I think there's like this is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
But if like, let's say the Jalen Brunson signing, people give it like a B or something, or a B plus, right? He's not a superstar. He's 25.
Okay. He's all right.
He had a great playoffs. He has the potential to grow and be a Knick. It's there. And I think it's a very good signing.
Right. Dad was a Knick. Exactly.
But if you're telling me that the signing becomes a sign and trade with Julius Randle, all of a sudden that becomes like a home run. Not good. It becomes great. Mm-hmm. So to me, that just says everything you need to know about Julius Randle and his trade value that you're signing, where there's a debate. There's a debate among Knicks fans. Like, was it good? Was it enough? Is this the guy? We have our point guard. It's the first point guard since Jason Kidd. Oh, did you see that Raymond Felton? It's the first good player since the whole thing. Blah, 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 blah. It goes from no one would have that debate anymore. It would become, this is awesome. We got our point guard. Obi Toppin can get minutes. Let's see if Tibbs actually plays him now. I could see Obi as an all-star. Let's see what he does. Oh, this opens up the floor for us to run up and down. We'll play some defense. The whole narrative changes on the Jalen Brunson signing if it is a sign and trade. That says more about Julius Randle than it does Jalen Brunson.
It does. All of a sudden, you got Obi and Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims, who they just locked up, as your 4 and 5s that you can maneuver, and you probably bring back Taj Gibson again, and then there you go, and you run and you go with it, and you're excited as a Knicks fan. Literally, the Knicks have it so easy right now to win the PR battle in New York. They literally just have to dump Julius Randle. And then guess what? Knicks fans are going to be off the wall excited. No, it doesn't matter what you get back. You can literally trade him and get nothing in return. And Knicks fans will be bouncing off the walls excited for this season, because all of a sudden you got Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson, Jericho Sims. You got all of these guys, and you got Grimes, you got McBride, you got the rookie Keels. You never know. You got all of these guys, and you're like, oh, this is fun. Now, even if we're not that great, like, at least we're watching what could be potentially the future. And then all of a sudden you're okay with Tibbs, and you're like, all right, well, Tibbs, now you have no choice. You can't worry. You can't play your favorite, favorite player. You can't play Alec Burks anymore. This is it. He's probably start Taj Gibson and playing 45 minutes, but you know what I'm saying?
And you open up your possibilities as a team moving forward. And you're not
right.
Like, the thing that the Knicks are doing really well right now is that they're not hurting themselves long-term. There's nothing on this team right now where you feel like they're screwed. Like, I think any Knicks fan reasonable would tell you this team is more about potential and has the possibility to be better, and they're moving in the right direction. but they have not done anything to hurt that. Say what you want about Leon Rose and his drafts. He's acquired picks. He's accumulated them.
He's dumped them. Yeah, exactly.
He has put his team in a position where I thought Leon Rose had a terrible offseason last year. I think that's pretty obvious with the re-signing of Randle, with the signing of Fournier and the signing of Kemba Walker. But he said, I made a mistake. Let's move on. I dealt Kemba. I dealt Burks. I dealt Noel. Yeah. I took back what we believe is a young player that can flourish here in New York City. And away we go moving forward. He got rid of the mistakes that he made. And this would be the biggest one. If he's somehow able to make that deal, that would be a major success for the Knicks. And they can just be like, you know what? Last year happened. Let's erase it. We have one major positive from last year. It's that RJ Barrett got improved and better, and we're feeling more secure about him, and you could feel good. So, I leave it on. I leave it on again. If they can make that deal, I just see it as a very difficult proposition. And also, Alex, it is early. Things can change. And, if I'm wrong about this, Saint, who is on Twitter, was referencing before, he can come back to me and tell me how stupid I am. And then I'll come back to him and tell him about, the Pittsburgh Steelers, how many Super Bowls they have, because he's a Ravens fan. And then we'll talk about
Eric St. Croix. St. Croix. That's it.
Then we'll talk about the Bengals, how they're one of the more up and coming teams in the NFL. We'll do all that. And I'll do all the typical Twitter stuff.
Yeah. So, but what's also funny? We talk about, and I do it also. So we talk about how Leon Rose is tied to Julius Randle, right? We talk about the meeting from the Woj pod. We wrote the Woj pod, excuse me. We've talked about that. Julius Randle is tied to Leon Rose. He explained it in the Woj pod, right? Leon Rose is also tied to Obi Toppin. He picked him number 8 in the draft.
It's a good point.
And he's showing flashes when he gets a chance. There's some kind of crazy stat where if he plays over 25 minutes, he's averaging over 20 points a game. And it's not a tiny, tiny sample size. And I know the last 5-10 games of the year, it was like kind of, some teams are just going through the motions and whatever. Skewed. Yeah, but you know what? He did it. He scored 42 on the last game of the season. You know what I mean? Emmanuel Quickly, another guy tied to Leon Rose. Triple doubles, a couple of them at the end of the year. You know what I mean? These are the guys that should have been playing the whole time. It makes the coach look stupid. That's one thing. But Obi Toppin is tied to Leon Rose just as much as Julius Randle is tied to Leon Rose, because that's a top 10 pick. And that's an area in the draft the Knicks have failed time and time again with Ntilikina, with Knox, Michael Sweetney, with guys like that, Channing Frye. They never hit on those picks towards the late, 10, mid 10, around 10, 8, 7, 9, whatever, whatever, Jordan Hill, so it's just Obi Toppin. If he becomes a star and the Knicks and Leon Rose messes up with Julius Randle, nobody remembers Julius Randle's name. Nobody cares. So let Obi play. Trade Julius Randle. Let's go.
That's what we got. That's a
good point. 37 years
Obi.
old. Let's see it.
That's a good point about Obi. He is tied to Leon. And I would think you want to. It's so weird you don't play your lottery picks. I mean, if he doesn't play this year, that's going to be a problem. Like, even if Randle's on the roster, you can't play Obi Toppin 14 minutes.
No, you can't.
You have to see if you have to. And I know what you referenced about the 42 points at the end of the year, but he's got to get 30 minutes a game.
We got to see it.
We got to see it. Yeah. Even if he fails, you have to, when you invest lottery picks, that would be like trading your 11th pick in the draft and signing in a point guard and then not playing him.
That would be like trading your 11th pick in the draft on the draft night just to trade Kemba Walker.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to play Jalen. You're going to play him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're saying if you don't play him. Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like, you got to play your lottery picks. They have to play.
Yeah.
Unless he's shown that he can play. Like,
right.
I'm not saying he can.
He's not Kevin Knox.
But he hasn't shown that he's Kevin Knox. And you're just like, we
blew it. Yeah.
We messed up. He's not Darko. Like,
yeah.
Oh, he's not going to the side like, we can't put him in the game because we're going to be embarrassed.
Right.
He's not that. Right. It's not like that kind of fuck up. It's just not playing.
And I know he's looked okay towards the end of last year, but the Knicks, chose Obi over Denny Avdija, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. The Israeli guy. And in Washington, he's looked okay, but like Obi Toppin showed a lot more flashes than Denny has. And the Knicks, that was a big conversation right at that moment. It was like, who do we take? But Obi just kept falling. And it was like, oh my God, he's going to fall into our lap. And that's why I was bouncing off the walls on.
Most excited I've ever seen you. Minus the Nets
oh.
imploding.
No, the Hawks, come on, when they won game 2. I was very excited by
but
that.
not after we never did. We record. We didn't record.
No, we didn't
that
record.
night.
I was drunk leaving the game, stuck in the crowd, trying to get out of there. Yeah, no, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't get why they wouldn't want to play Obi Toppin just to put a bow on that. Anyway,
so the Brooklyn Nets have not made a deal quite yet. They have made a couple of signings. The most notably TJ Warren, who is a good scorer. He's only played 4 games in the last couple of years, which is 4 more than me. So that's
not PJ Tucker, right? Not PJ Tucker, TJ Warren.
Jesus. So, do you want to say
explain
that
to everybody? Mike was busy one day, working, during the middle of the day like a normal person, and I saw that the Nets signed TJ Warren, and I texted him they signed PJ Tucker, and he was like, "Oh, that's interesting," and I was like, "Oh, actually, it's TJ Warren, same thing though. You got the J and a completely different,
very
players,
different kind of player,
but
like
TJ,
opposites.
PJ, same.
If you were to combine the two skill set, a scoring defensive like that'd be a tremendous player. I suppose very good. But yeah, huge difference. But the big thing here with the Nets is Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and then Ben Simmons still on the roster. Ben Simmons did delete his Instagram.
Oh, he did?
Take that that happened.
The whole Instagram or just a post?
It's gone.
Really?
Take that for what it's worth.
Jeez.
Who knows? Yeah, it's gone.
Guys got
that was after some Simmons rumors started to bubble because they would have, if the Nets wanted Donovan Mitchell, Simmons would have to be gone because of the rookie trade contract.
Didn't he post some funny stuff, or it was people like not cryptic, but people like took it the wrong way? Or
well, he posted that he was at Net practice, or he was at Nets facility. He posted something Nets related. So then the idea was maybe, and the Nets reposted it, feeling bad after some rumors happened. I don't know. Everybody's ego is so fragile. At the same time, it's like, Ben, you haven't played in a year. Like, let's get on the court. I get it.
If people forget about Ben Simmons, of course he never plays. Of course we forget about it.
I want people to remember him. I mean, the thing too is like he had an awful series, but like the Sixers that season had the best record in the East. He was an incredible force, and that's what's frustrating too.
And Kawhi's miracle shot knocked them out. We always talk about that miracle.
Oh God,
shot.
Yeah. I mean, he was great.
They could have won a championship.
Him teamed up with Kyrie,
yes,
Kawhi and Kyrie and combine it. And Durant could be awesome, but that's for another day because maybe they'll be back. And there's just nothing has happened yet for Durant. You had an interesting tweet, which I partially believe, partially think it's overblown in a lot of ways. I don't know if you have it pulled up. If you want to bring it up, I think it'd be interesting for you to read, and then we could discuss it. The Nets right now trying to get the most value they can for Kevin Durant. There's some also that believe that he might just be back on the roster next year, which I would say normally after you hear a report like Kevin Durant wants to trade, you go, no, they're gone. But I would say twists and turns with this organization and everything that has happened with Team Nets, wouldn't be stunned. Honestly, like if Durant and Kyrie Irving were back next year, I go, yeah, okay, not shocked. Really wouldn't. And I think at first I'd be a little weirded out about it, but I also do think, once the game started, you'd be like, fuck yeah, this is great. I would resort back to that, even though it would be it would be an embarrassment. I mean, it would be, but I think
Melo in Denver at the last year with the melodrama. That's what it would be. We played half a season when he wanted to be traded. That sucked.
Right. But I mean, if they're there and they're giving effort in the sense of, I don't say
helping your team,
like actually like saying, yeah, I'm a Net, I'm going to play this year, not pulling a James Harden, that would then, which would be a whole another conversation. But I believe you have the tweet now. I bought 2 minutes for you.
It's okay. I found it a minute and a half ago, but it's okay. So what I said on July 5th at Knicks Central, why does Kevin Durant have so much value? Don't say just because he's Kevin Durant. I get he's one of the best players ever, but as an organization, are you really willing to gut your roster and picks for a soon-to-be 34-year-old that can't stay healthy and may demand a trade from you two? With a shrug emoji.
Those emojis on Twitter really annoy me.
And then I was vindicated today, I believe, when Windhorse, who everybody believes now, said, I think the Nets thought they're going to be a tremendous bidding war. And while there's a lot of interest, from what I can tell, that bidding war isn't really hot right now. And then that's when that report came out. It was Legion Hoops posted it from Chris. It said it was Chris B. Haynes and Vince Goodwill, who blocked me on Twitter for some reason once a long time ago. The Brooklyn Nets asked the Minnesota Timberwolves for Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and 4 draft picks in exchange for Kevin Durant, and the Timberwolves declined.
Right.
So Your thoughts?
Well, I think, yes, it's going to be hard to get the haul they want, but I think it's because of gutting your roster, right? If you're going to trade for Kevin Durant, you can't be then depleted in the cupboard and you have nothing. And it's Kevin Durant with nobody. And then all of a sudden your team doesn't have a chance to win. You'll be fun. You got Durant, the excitement, blah, 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 but you can't win. I think the age thing plays into it because you can't, it's not like, for example, you deal for Anthony Edwards, right? And he's 20, whatever, however old he is, 20, young 20s,
30.
like, okay, I have a potential super duper star, or John Morant, for example. Like, I've got a guy that I think I can plug in for the next decade. Kevin Durant's not giving you the next decade. He's going to give you the next couple of years, and it's going to be at a high level. The injury thing, he is injury prone, no doubt about it. At this point in his career, there's always a point. I wouldn't say he's like unreliable, but I would
he's
say
gonna miss 2 months.
He's got a track record now where he's going to miss 20 to 30 games. Okay. Something along those lines.
Not rest games, like be injured. Yeah.
But he's also proven to be incredibly durable, and he's playing 48 minutes in big playoff games. So the storyline with the Nets at the end of the year was he was playing too many minutes because the Nets had nobody to help him. So I get you, he's going to miss games, which will hurt your bottom line, will hurt your win total, but won't hurt you. Where I think you're minimizing him is you say, don't give me, well, it's Kevin Durant. I think that's the argument. Well, it is Kevin Durant, and he's still playing at an incredibly unbelievable high level. I mean, the guy is unstoppable when he's there, and he's the guy that's a game-changing player for your franchise. So it's like, oh, don't give me he's Kevin Durant. You can't minimize that and say you can't. No, yes. When you're trading for Kevin Durant, you have to be allowed to say, well, I'm getting Kevin Durant. I'm getting a guy that's an automatic 30 points per game scorer, that shoots 50% from the field, that plays at a great defensive level, that is a guy that makes everybody around you on the court better. That is a huge factor. And that is what you are trading for. And that is what you are getting. And he still is Kevin fucking Durant through all of it. When he is there, he is unstoppable. And he is a guy that can take your team from maybe to yes. And that's why it's so frustrating losing him and not for having that effort to see it. So I think a lot of your points are well constructed and are there. And I agree with the age. He's not going to be here forever. It's not a guy, he's 4 years under contract. How many of those will be great? I also understand he is injury prone, but the essence of it, he's Kevin fucking Durant. That's not going away.
Right. But he's Kevin Durant when he's there. But you can't guarantee he's going to be there, and you can't guarantee he's going to cry and then has to be traded in a year.
Fair. I agree.
He's 34. He's going to be 34 now. That's not young, and he's got 3 years left. So how many years? Like, I didn't want Kevin Durant on the Knicks 3 years ago going onto an injury. Why the hell would I want him now? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's great, and yeah, all the things the Knicks can add Kevin Durant right now and give up nothing, of fucking course, I would take him. Of course, the world doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? There's no forced trades like in 2K. You know what I'm saying? You can't just make the deal like that. It has to, there's so much more to it. And the fact that he's going to be declining soon. He can't stay healthy already. He's 34. He's got not an attitude problem, I wouldn't say. It's just that he's never happy. The guy always wants to be traded. He always wants to go somewhere else. That's it now. He's that guy. And I know we hate legacy talk on this show, and we're not like ESPN and Fox Sports and those people, but his legacy is freaking trash now. Now you gave up everything. You torpedoed the Nets.
Look. It's a bad look.
Completely torpedoed the Nets. And as much as it makes me laugh, it's a stain on his legacy. It really is, because you look at him and it's just like, dude, what did you do? Like, you made the Nets not only sign the reason why you and Net fans, and I give it to you for, in hindsight, that you guys were so excited is because you signed Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan, and you didn't really give up anything else besides some draft picks and a BS sign and trade, right? So it's just like you had LeVert, you had Dinwiddie if they brought him back, you had Jared Allen. It's like you're like, oh my God, we got the culture Nets adding Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then you got that whole roster for James Harden and Kevin Durant. You fire Atkinson, you bring Nash in, and now a year later, because Kyrie Irving didn't want to get vaccinated and the Nets were tired of it, you now you want to get traded? Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, it's if I agree with you.
Who the hell would want that?
No, I would say who would want that is a team that wants to win a title because everything you laid out is true and fair.
A 1 year shot,
but but I would say even more than 1 year. I think Kevin Durant's got a lot of good years left in him. I do. I don't think he's got more than 3 or 4.
Yeah, but will he play? Is what I'm saying. Will he be happy
yes,
for
I
more
agree
than 1
with
year?
that. But
That's
I think,
what
I said, like I said, I know, we're the if game here.
Yeah.
But I'll have to use the word, if this team makes the deal, like if the Suns go out and get, like, for example, the Phoenix Suns last year got trashed by the Dallas Mavericks in Game 7. That was one of the most embarrassments in the conference
Lost by
finals
100 points
and couldn't get to the Western Conference Finals. If you're the Phoenix Suns and you saw that and you have an opportunity to go out and get Kevin Durant and you could add him to Devin Booker and Chris Paul, I get you're going to gut everything out. That's a team that makes sense because you got the 2 other stars and you'll figure out the rest of the role players. Yeah, you make the trade because, all the hot take people said the Suns are gone. The Suns are done. They can't get back to that. They need to make a deal. So from their perspective, it makes so much sense that you could add Kevin Durant into that fold. But I agree with you when you're going to gut your, like for the Knicks, makes no sense because then you have Kevin Durant and nobody. Yeah. And as the Nets should want something back in return. The Nets aren't going to want to do this deal and then get nothing in return. And where the Nets are in a really tricky spot is the Nets don't have any draft picks. And why this is tricky in that conversation is if you're to deal Kevin Durant, let's say, fuck it, he's out. The Nets want the option of, let's go in full tank mode. They don't have draft picks. So even if they're going to acquire 5 draft picks back, 4 draft picks back from the Phoenix Suns, from the Pelicans, that team's going to be great. So those aren't going to be as good of picks. The Nets don't have their own picks. There's no incentive to tank. So their incentive is to deal Durant and get good players back so they can be competitive because their roster really is good. I mean, Durant, Kyrie, Simmons, and the supporting cast is good enough when things break right to win a championship. So if you're going to trade them, you might as well get assets back where you can go for that because you can't tank. It's an impossibility without draft picks. You don't tank without draft picks. So you take them back. You take back good players. You plug them in. It won't be as good as Durant, but if you can plug in Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Ayton, with this crew, I don't know what it is, but it's somewhere in that playoff, possibility bubble game. It's there. So you got to try to make these trades. And if the market proves that nobody wants to do it back and there's no partner and it goes down, then it goes down. But you might as well take the waiting game and see if a team gets itchy enough where they're like, all right, let's do the deal. This isn't the James Harden thing where he quit in the middle of the season, wasn't playing, and it was the deadline and they had no choice. The Nets have time. It's July 7th, right? The Nets don't play till October. Why do it now and force a trade just so Kevin Durant's happy when you've got months to get the deal that you want? You might as well wait. There's no point. There's no point of it. So I don't blame the Nets for acting as business as usual and putting the best roster they can together because in their mind, they're trying to get the best players back. And if it ends up not being that great of a haul, then the Nets just got more fucked. But you might as well try.
Yeah, that's why I don't blame them for going crazy with that Timberwolves offer, if it's real, if you believe it. But I was just pulling up the Suns roster, and their highest paid players are Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and then I started laughing because I was thinking about the trade proposal somebody put out, Landry Shamet. Like if the Nets trade Kevin Durant and one of the players they get back is Landry Shamet, I will really laugh a lot, just so you know. But overall, is there a deal out there you think? Excuse me, as I spit on myself. Is there a deal out there, do you think, that where the Knicks can get involved in this? So with the Suns and the Nets and somehow unload Julius Randle onto the Suns as well, if they are dumping Jay Crowder or Bridges, maybe not Bridges, and Jay Crowder or Shamet or somebody like that, who are, well, Shamet's got a few years left, but Jay Crowder has got expiring, Sarek's got expiring, like somebody like that to get that, do you think that there's a world there where something like that can happen?
Where the Knicks are getting who?
Where the Knicks can dump Randle on the Suns too, where they can get the Suns can end up with Randle and Durant, and then they'll have Paul, Booker, Durant, Randle, and then Randle's the 4th guy, and now you're freaking that's a good place.
I don't think the Nets ever want to help the Knicks, but I think in this case, if it meant getting the best haul back, I think
same with the Knicks. Yeah.
I think you would. I think you would have to say like, you'd have to be like looking at your enemy across the lunch table and being like, just this one time.
The enemy of
Tell
my enemy is
anybody.
my friend in this situation.
Well, in this situation, it's just the enemy of my enemy is you, but we'll deal with it for this time because we're both getting rid of this. Not that the Nets want to and the Knicks do, but if the Nets were able to absorb some great deal, I think they would do it.
If the Nets walk away with Ayton and Bridges, you'll be happy. I think you'll be okay.
I think it's ultimately going to get to that.
Like, all right, yeah.
I think what the Nets want is they want Scotty Barnes as the centerpiece of it. OG.
The Raptors we're talking now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then Simmons goes and Donovan comes in. I think that's the best.
The dream. Yeah.
The dream. Because then if you go like, okay, and then let's not even mention the Kyrie part, but then if you got Scotty Barnes and Donovan Mitchell, you're at least like, okay, this could turn into something.
Young.
We don't know.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'm not saying it's Durant. It's not Durant and Kyrie.
Give it 2 years. You can add some pieces. Yeah. Like,
I mean, if you're like, if I'm telling you the Knicks, right, you're in your mind, you're going, well, I want it's the same thing. Like, at least you're in that next step where you have the potential to be it and you're feeling good as a fan base. It's not what it was, which wasn't all that great in retrospect, but at least you'd have some future. And that's why I don't blame Sean Marks. They can't just give in. They can't. There's no incentive for them to go into July and have the roster settled. What does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't. If you don't see the deals you want, it doesn't make sense. Now with Kyrie, if I were the Nets, if there's no right deal there, I'm not taking Westbrook back. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm not helping Kyrie. I would even just say, Kyrie, you know what? Go home. We'll pay you. Goodbye.
I agree.
Keyshawn him. Get the hell out of here. We're
he didn't play last year anyway.
Yeah, screw you, man. We don't need you. We're not going to help you. You torpedoed our entire franchise. You poisoned Kevin Durant. Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Go home. File a grievance with the union. Go ahead, file it. We'll pay the fines. Get the fuck out of here. And that's me saying it. I'm rooting for chaos, but at the same time, I don't blame the Nets if they just say get that.
No, you don't just do a trade to do a trade. You make sure you get the best deal you
especially
can.
With expiring.
And just let him sit.
Yeah.
Just let him sit. I would 100% agree with you. I have to put in this, like, I agree with you. Everything you said about Kyrie, I still think at the end of the day, Sean Marks should have given him the contract. So we'll disagree there, but I do want to make that note because I know there will be a lot of Net fans that will disagree completely. We've talked
we're here
about
now,
this.
and we're opted here in. Yeah, he opted in. He could have opted out and just been gone. But
I'd rather have Kyrie Irving sit than doing a trade that hurts you. And let me put it this way too: once the deadline hits, okay. That's a different conversation, right? Because now we're at the deadline, and if
stuck it to him a little bit,
if let's say it's Westbrook, you're getting him back, and
buy him out,
you get a pick back, and then we got to the very end of it, so be it. Then at that point, see what you can get. Let's make a deal that can help our franchise moving forward, but don't just do it early again to help him. Unless again, it's a trade where you think you got, I don't want to say got better, but you're like, because you're never going to get better.
If you got Anthony Davis from the Lakers, you can sell it to yourself. Yeah.
But you honestly too, like if it was whatever it is, if you just said, you know what, this is the best we could do. And rationally, that, sure. But don't just do something like this idea of let me trade Russell Westbrook and attach a Joe Harris. Why would you attach a guy that's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league? Why would you attach that just to rid yourself of Kyrie? Don't play Kyrie. Who cares? Yeah. Like the Nets went through a season where he wasn't there for 75% of the time. This is not uncommon now to see. Yeah. So I think it's almost prepares you for it. You know how to deal with it better.
And they brought Patty Mills back, right? You brought Patty's
back. I mean, the Nets got shooting. They got Patty, they got Seth and Joe coming back, which is a huge component. Right. I mean, those are three very good Curry and Harris are elite. Harris is elite. Seth's very, very good, and Patty's very, very streaky. But those are guys that you could plug in and say we could, spread the floor. I mean, that's
win
not
40
bad.
games. Yeah, like you'll be okay. It won't be like the worst team in the history of the NBA. You know what I mean? Like you'll be good. No. You'll be okay. And the Lakers have really nothing. I'm looking at their salaries now. They literally have nothing. Their top 3 players take up the chunk of their salaries.
There's no one they can deal.
LeBron and Anthony. The only person is Talen Horton-Tucker. But how excited are you about by him? THT. No. Like who cares? The rest are
a third team needs to come in. And this is just the waiting game. It's going to be. It's going to be a while. I'd be stunned if stuff happens soon. It's going to be a while.
Yeah,
and they're going to play the game back.
And then it's just you don't also, if you're the Nets, you don't trade Kyrie. I said this the last time, I think you don't trade Kyrie and Durant together. You fuck them over there. You said you guys aren't playing together. I'm sorry. Over my dead body. If you want to do it, maybe next year when Kyrie is a free agent and he wants to sign with wherever you are, that's fine. But I'm not helping you guys stay together.
See, I don't agree with that on one part. I think the Nets just have to get the best possible deal back, and if that means they're together,
but apples to apples, you don't help them out. If there's two trades, that you can do, forget it.
But if it means all of a sudden you're getting the trade works where you're getting Scotty Barnes and Donovan Mitchell's coming, and you said, okay, but it means that Durant and Kyrie are together
or in Toronto.
I would. Well, can Kyrie play in Toronto? I don't know the rule now. Seriously, I don't know the rule. I don't know the rule.
The baseball players can't play in Toronto.
Is it still going on?
I don't think they can play. With the Blue Jays. I think I don't know if that's. Don't quote me, but I think I saw something this week.
I know you have a Julius Randle poll, and then I have one baseball thing I want to talk about before we close up shop.
We brought back the poll question for one episode. Knicks fans, I used to do this weekly poll question. I'll give some shout outs at Knicks Central. Do you want the Knicks to trade Julius Randle? Yes or no? What do you think won? And
88%.
88% yes. No, it was.
I got the percentage right?
No, 80% yes. We still have an hour left on the poll. 20% no.
That's close.
Yeah. And some shout outs. We got our boy IG at the perfect flex and he's at SB Chris 88. We won't get equal value. Plus the market is non-existent. Hold until conditions or the player improves. Chris Lewis, he's at King_of Canada. The only reason I'm a maybe is Obi. If we hadn't drafted Obi and to be a no, it would be a no. Okay, well, we could have asked him about the vaccine if he's in Canada. Then we have Ron. He's actually a Nets fan, this guy. Ron, he's at Ronnie Love, LUV 23. Yes, I hated his leadership last year. Well, lack of leadership. So that's another one. Let's see some other people, some different perspectives. RJ Felton, our boy at RJ Felton 1. He just writes yesterday, as in yes. They should have traded him already. Here's an interesting one. Jeremy Barrett at Jeremy Barrett 11 voted yes, but would really depend on the trade, not attaching assets just to dump him. See, that's where I would disagree. I would just get him out of here. You know, you got all these protected picks that everybody says is so valuable. Use one of them and get him the fuck out of here. Give me that protected pick that's top 18 protected or whatever it is. I don't care. I don't have it in front of me. Use it and get him the hell out of here. Don't trade your own picks. We need our own picks as insurance, not for Julius Randle. We need that insurance if things don't work out, if somebody gets hurt or whatever. God forbid, you need that insurance. Learn that from Isaiah. But if you can attach a protected pick, get rid of Julius Randle. I'm good. So there you go. That's the poll.
That was my point earlier.
Yeah.
That's how you got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we have one more. Our boy Leo Valentin at Leo Valentin. He goes, no, I just want to see how long you keep this up. The Julius Randle trade tweets. And I said, I have the next 2 weeks bookmarked at least.
Do you really have that much content ready?
No. I have one or two more.
Your intern does that, right?
Yeah, my intern. Coonies is my intern. Exactly.
Is he really?
My producer. Yeah, he's my producer.
I didn't know that. we were DMing yesterday. I was sharing it with him. Mike Delivers podcast. He was like, "I'm burned out on all things hoops. I need something else. Let me hear about you talking about food."
There you go.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Got another listener.
Yes, trying my best. There was one thing baseball wise I want to talk about. I don't want to get into detail about like the Mets and the Yankees beating the shit out of the Pirates.
Yeah.
And the Mets getting a good win, which was needed.
Won the Red Series. That was a fun
versus
game.
Cincinnati. As this will be dated already because they've games.
Yeah.
But I want the idea that you like the Mets. So you're a Jets fan. I'm a Giants fan. You're a Knicks fan. I'm a Nets fan. If people didn't know, we don't have a hockey team. I know you would. I would say, if there was a team to win, it'd be the Devils. You'd be, if there was a team to win, but I don't care. I don't.
Me, it's the Rangers, but I don't.
I don't care.
I grew up on Long Island. Let the Islanders win. That'd be fun. Who cares?
The fact that you like the Mets and I like the Mets, I feel very uncomfortable. Seriously, like texting you stuff positive.
Let's go. Yeah,
I don't feel. Doesn't feel natural. I don't know what I'm doing. Like it feels like I have the yips when I'm texting you, and I don't like it. I'm serious.
That's so funny because I talk about that with our boy BKGO on Twitter. He's a big Nets fan, but he's a Mets fan, and it's funny because every year we like start liking and retweeting our each other's tweets about the Mets, but all year we're like trashing each other about the Nets and the Knicks.
It's weird. I feel
weird.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is weird though that we were talking about this via text too, where basketball and hockey teams I guess vary. For the most part, obviously it's Jets, Mets, Nets, Islanders, 100 years ago, and it was the other way,
right.
For the other ones, but. Over time, Knicks were the only team in New York, so they have more fans. Not being a dick, but they do, and so it was Mets and Jets and Yankees and Giants is pretty much standard because the Mets and the Jets played at Shea, and the Giants and Yankees played at their original Yankee Stadium. So it was all the fans that lived around there. There was no TV. You watch every game. You were going to the game, whatever team you lived near, you were a fan of.
Right,
so it's just,
right.
and then those families moved out and had kids, and they moved out, but they kept their fandom and passed it down. And that's why it's Giants, Yankees, and Mets, Jets. So it's bizarre that you're a Giants and Mets fan. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think I can kind of break it down and answer it. I mean, the Nets one's easy. Live 10 minutes from Continental Airlines Arena, Brendan Byrne Arena. Yeah. Easy. My dad loves basketball. He's like, let's go to the games. They're super cheap. We're down the street. We could go to these in no time.
Michael Jordan.
It was all right. And then from there, the rest is history. I guess it all stems back to my dad. My dad's originally from California. So he was an NL guy. So he made sure that we were watching Mets on the NL side of things. And then the Giants, when I was growing up, were just better and won Super Bowls then. So I was a front runner there. And I think that's how the three came together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I mean, the Mets and Giants were good when I was little. It's almost they were better than the Jets or the Jets.
The
but
Mets
they
weren't so great though in the 90s. They were
I'm saying I think my dad attached to it and I saw it when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Okay, well that makes sense.
It was his influence on the NL side.
It's always your dad. It's always a dad, that you tend to follow for the most part, or your mom, or whoever your father figure or mother figure is in your life, a close cousin, somebody you look up to that passes down a team. It's rare that you get the rebellious people like
that happen. That will happen, which sucks.
You do everything opposite of what your dad does, and then you're just like that asshole little kid.
My son doesn't do that. That would be.
Your son's rooting for the Knicks. You know what I mean? In 10 years, you'd be like, oh God, get out of here. Man. Yeah,
that would be fucking awful. I mean, I would respect him, and I would say go for it, but it would suck. I mean, to not have that. Like we would bond over basketball, and I'd be into it with him. But if he was, it would be bummer that we can't be on the same page with that. Would suck. It'd be the end of the world. Worst problems.
It's not. There's bigger problems, of course, but that would suck because the idea, not the idea, but having a son, I feel like I don't have one. I don't have a kid yet, but you do. The idea is you want to have those moments that you had with your dad, and like I had with my dad going to every Jets game. You know what I mean? Like I want to pass that down and do that too. So whatever.
Yeah, could you imagine? But I guess it'd be fun. We go to the Garden, and I'm wearing my Nets. I'm trying to think who would be on the team at that point. Nobody.
Ronnie Jr. Yes.
Nobody we've heard of. And then, RJ Barrett's in his 8th. He's already won his 8th NBA Finals MVP, and he's coming back. Still not an all-star though,
for the Heat,
which is terrible for the Heat.
No, you know what's funny? I'd rather my potential son, not like sports at all, and just like cars or be into art, and instead of being like a Yankees or a Nets or a Giants fan. You know what I mean? I'd rather them, or like they're a Heat fan or something. Just
I think I think you'll change your mind.
Yeah, I'd rather them not be into it at all, to be honest. Well, but who knows? I can't speak for my future self.
I still wiping my son's ass, so I don't even, I can't go too far. He's a baby. Relax, everybody. He's a baby. Don't get on me, okay?
He's a baby. He's only 10 years old. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. We're done. Bad Weather Fans, episode 124. Thank you to everybody. As Alex said when we started this episode, subscribe, download. It really helps us. And also, if you want to see the visual format for the Bad Weather Fans podcast, all you have to do is go into YouTube and type Bad Weather Fans. You can watch the video of this, like it, subscribe. And actually, the new terminology now on the podcast side of things is subscribe is scrubbed. You say follow, because subscribe is like, oh, you have to subscribe. It sounds like a lot of work. Or
sounds like $5 a month.
Follow. It's a little different. Like I follow you on Twitter, Alex. I don't subscribe to your bad tweets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The tweets aren't that bad.
I thought there was a Woj tweet, and I thought I saw something, but he retweeted something Windhorse said.
All right, Bad Weather Fans, episode 124. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Alex, be good, man.
All right.